rock up. I managed to make an emergency phone call. That's not what I meant. Oh, it's not what I meant to do. I was trying to alter the camera angle. I think I won't try to alter the camera angle again. Ah, here we are, Maggie, well done. Sorry about that. I just went to kind of tip the camera a little bit and, well, it made an emergency call for me, which was a bit embarrassing. So anyway, then I had to turn my phone off and start all over again, and then bugging me it did it again. But anyway, hopefully I won't make any more emergency calls. I won't touch the screen. That seems the best. I really should. Good. Yes, I like to start something new with a kind of a demonstration of how things just might be, which is, you know, not necessarily terribly professional. As I said, these will be my usual offerings, but I'm going to try and be a little bit more organised so that we can get through a bit faster, simply because I'd like to do this regularly while we're all locked up, so that we've got something that is a kind of anchor. I think that's maybe what's so difficult at the moment, is there's no anchors, are there? And in some ways that's quite easy for me because I'm at home all the time anyway. But I do remember when I had real life, it's quite hard when there aren't anchors in your week. You know, on Monday I do this, and on Tuesday I do this, and on Wednesday I do this, and that's just gone. So I'm hoping that this Wednesday, so it'll probably usually be Wednesday morning, I just didn't want to commit to getting up early today, that these Wednesdays will be a bit of an anchor for us, and hopefully we can do a follow-up on Saturdays. And so long as I don't stream for 5 hours each time, I should be able to do that. Because although I know for a lot of people they're suddenly very quiet, actually for me not much changes, because I've got most of my students are online now. It is a bit different because my students can't have their exhibition, and I can't have students here, and I can't run the retreats at the moment. But apart from that, life goes on. So that's the reasoning. So I'm going to try and oh there, hello Dorothy. I'm going to try and be relatively efficient with what I do, and my thoughts were to rather than being, well, they will be arty videos because it's me, but I'm thinking more in terms of sort of projects and things that we can all be doing for those of you who've suddenly got all this extra time at home. And I think having something to hook us into that, and just some ideas going, and you can chat to each other, hopefully will work quite well. So, and for me, hoping I can find the time too, but I have quite a large house needing quite a lot of renovating. And so for me, it would be lovely to actually make some home furnishings. I'm forever saying when I'm making cloth and things that you could use these for home furnishings, because I rarely do. So I think that would be a really nice thing to do. Hi Jill, hi. There's loads of you there. Hello, I'm really glad you're coming. And I know it's not the same as actually going somewhere. But I'm quite a cheery soul online, and prone to make, well, as we know, messes and tits. Stephen wouldn't let me call it Mess and Tits TV, which I think's grossly unfair, because I thought that was really, really funny. But apparently, thank you very much. He has just, on the other hand, cut me a stencil, so, you know, I can't lock it all together. No, he said Mess and Tits TV. Well, he said I'd regret it. Why would I? I thought it was howlingly funny. Anyway, I've completely lost my train of thought. Yes, and that's why it's quite good fun, isn't it? So hopefully it'll be a cheery up once or twice a week. And hi, Sheena, lots of things for us to be engaging in and doing. And doing things without a purpose. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But, well, actually, that's what women are very bad at. But doing things without a reason or people to show it to isn't as gratifying, is it? So I thought, if we've got this, you know, if we run this going, then once we've got ourselves going and I know who's coming, you know, I may open up another group for us, and then you could be putting your photos in there as this is where I'm at with my throw or whatever it is. So I'm planning to start with my little doggy, as you know, is busy guarding the house, and always does, on the backs of the settees. And because of that, we have to cover the settees in frozen things to stop them getting wrecked. Excuse me, I'm going to have to drink a lot. Oh, hi, Leslie, you're welcome. Yes, young Dixon and Stephen keeping me on track. Well, couldn't believe that. What a great name, I thought. I thought that was a gift. I thought that was a gift. I thought it was one of the funniest messages I've received, I have to say. What I love about these people is they need to tell you. They feel a need, obviously, to tell you how offensive you are. They can't just let it go. No, you have to be told. Anyway, so I am going to work towards making some throws for my sitting room. That's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to use my usual suspects, and this is completely new for me because I've never made one before. So I'm going to pull on my patchwork and quilting skills. And so I'm thinking... And I want to encourage you to think like this as well. You don't have to have a pattern or a plan or anything. You can just get out a piece of paper, or indeed, hang on, I might have a piece of paper. There's a possibility on a piece of paper. Yeah. And I'm thinking about a 4 foot square, roughly. So a 4 foot square throw. Let's make a 4 foot square throw, which is a really nice size, actually. I have made them before when I did patchwork. Of course, I couldn't find them, but I will find them. I've done a log cabin one, and I've done a couple of stack and wax. And they were a great size, both for over the settees, but also as a tablecloth. It's quite a nice table topper size. So a 4 foot square is going to fit quite nicely into 4 1 foot by 1 foot pieces. And that was another thing I thought we could look at, is how to make something bigger without having to have 4 foot of something on your machine for terribly long. A thing that I am a master of. So if we look at 4 foot square, and that will be each one 2 foot squares, wouldn't it? But I think if we do it like that, that's quite a nice construction. So each of those is 12 inches by 12 inches. That's quite a nice size. And I could either have those as just very simple, plain, not plain, but, you know, just patterned fabrics, or I could actually piece into those. So I could have, see if I can find a pencil with a rubber so I can try a few here. So I could have a very simple split like that, split like that, split like that, split like that. That's quite nice, isn't it? How does that work out if we keep doing that? I'm wanting relatively simple. It's going to need to be washed a lot because we have a dirty boyo in the house. Hang on, itchy back, itchy back. I need to do my yoga more regularly. I can't reach that spot down there. Oh, it's lovely. Oh, lovely. Sorry about that. So I don't want too much seaming. I haven't decided yet whether I'm actually going to piece this or whether I'm going to just do it with heat and bond. I do know I'm going to make each 12-inch bit separately so that I don't have to deal with it all until the end. Now, when I've done it all, I may decide, oh, lovely, I'd love to put a great big flower applique on there, but we'll see about that as we go along. It'll be a bit of a mystery one, this, because basically I don't know what I'm going to decide to do either. I like that. It's going to showcase the fabrics nicely, isn't it? And we can always change it as we go along if we decide. I mean, you could do, what's that like? If we just double up one side each time, that's quite nice too, look. I like that as well. There. Don't worry about how you're going to make things at this stage. Just have fun thinking about what would look nice. You can see I'm a kind of strips girl. That's almost now like a strippy pieced one, isn't it? But not quite, but I kind of like that. And then this last strip, we could strip it, we could leave it as it is, or we could put a square in there, or we could put more lines. You know, I do like lines. Now this is now like a bit of a rail fence. For those of you that are quilters, these are the names of quilt blocks. For those of you that aren't quilters, just don't worry about what I'm talking about. It's just a pattern, that's all. It's just a pattern. That's maybe getting, I don't know, that's rather nice too. That's rather nice too. So what I do at this stage is I've got my basic idea. I'm going to make 12-inch blocks. That's what I'm going to be doing. They could be completely random, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 12-inch blocks. So over the next, I don't know how many weeks it'll take, I'm going to make that throw. So let's start with some fabric. It needs to be washable. So I've got this is just plain cotton, nothing posh about it, not expensive cotton, just plain everyday cotton. I don't normally bother selling this because it's relatively simple to get hold of from from most shops, and you may, if you have somewhere that you get it from, that's fine. But I have bought myself a new bolt of cotton for the studio, and I will be putting it in the shop just in case anybody can't find plain cotton at the moment. So just plain cotton, cheap cotton, and I have just this morning pre-soaked this in a soda solution. So I've just got a bucket, and into that bucket I put a gallon of water and 9 tablespoons of soda ash, and that makes a good soaking solution. I soaked this for 20 minutes, took it out, spun it in the what do you call that thing, washing machine, and then pop this on the radiator to dry. Don't put it in the tumble dryer. Soda ash is heat sensitive, and you might apparently set the tumble dryer on fire. Of course, all of me wants to see if that's actually true and do it, but you know, probably sensible not to. It's still got a few bits of Milo's, the blood off Milo's nose where he buried his pig's ear in it, but that sort of thing isn't going to bother me in the least. And it's now dry, so that's great. And that means that when I come to use dye later in this process, this fabric has the soda in it, which is the easiest way of doing this. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to start today by putting some stencils. So I'm going to make myself a palette of materials, very much like you would buy from the shop, a collection of materials. I'm just going to make my own. I've always wanted to do this. I have always wanted to make my own materials and make a fairly traditional quilt out of it. So this is a really nice chance for me to do this and for you to do it with me. So you don't have to use stencils. If you don't have stencils, you could use blocks, you could use foam stamps, you could print with half potatoes. It's up to you. Stencils are just, I think probably most of us do have some stencils. Stencils are just a really nice, quick and easy way of producing beautiful fabric. So I've got some of, I've got a few new ones. I've got the ones that that I made recently, that I designed recently. I've got those. Some of the MIPs will recognise this pattern. This was one that when they were making their own stencils, this was one of the sample ones, and I thought it's so nice. I'm going to make it as a stencil line, and I have finally got a trellis done. But the others, I've also got some from the Stencil Studio who do beautiful beautiful stencils, and I picked up that bird because I rather like that. I'm just looking really for patterns I like, so I've got 2 different birds on branches there. That could be quite fun to work with. So I'm just looking for patterns and things that look appealing to me. And I don't mind whether they're commercial or whether they're my own for this. It really doesn't matter. You know, there's this is for my own use, for home furnishings. It's up to me how I use these. These aren't going to be things I'm going to sell. And this isn't going to be art to go on the wall. So really, I've got a total freedom, which is rather novel, actually. It's lovely. So I'm just uncorking a few, as you can see. I've got a pack here that we were using last time, which I think has... Did it have that nice... Well, it's got those. It's got the rose ones, because I thought they would be... No, well, I thought they'd all be nice, actually. It's got the rose ones. Some of them I've washed, so they'll just have come back. And willows. Oh, I've got plenty. Stop fussing around here. You've got loads. I'll move those because they're clean ones to go back in the shop. We'll stick those over there. So we've got fabric. I've got a nice pile of stencils. Of course, I'm now... hang on. That's it. That's the one I'm looking for. That's swirly one. I'm just so fond of that. Swirly. Yeah, we've got loads there. Right. So let's sideline those onto a table down here because I want to give myself a bit of space. The colours in my sitting room, it's mostly blue. Surprise, surprise. So I'm going to go for colours that will go in there. So Wedgwood blue. No, that's sky blue. Where's Wedgwood? Wedgwood is a slightly greyer blue. So I'm going to have actually both of those. They're so close, but you can see this one's brighter. I'm going to have both of those. There is also, I'd like... that one, which is a denim blue. That's new, that is faded denim. It's a new colour. There's 1 or 2 new colours. We're calling them new colours, not fuck-ups, okay? No, the fuck-ups are one-offs. I think that's more Wedgwood or something. Yeah, I think it is. So that's a darker one. I wouldn't mind darker again, possibly. So we'll have Asta. And also, there's Bugger, hang on. Just underneath. Come back here. Little devil. Line. And there's mocha in there as well. I might pick up pistachio because it's really light and bright. Okay, so actually those are the sort of, if I get the ones that are correct, that, and that are the colours that are in there. And probably those more than that deeper one. So I'm going to work around with those colours. No, oh God, I've got loads out on the table here. Let's get rid of some of these. I'll keep grey out because grey's always a useful colour. I'll get those off of there. And I've got a bottle of white, which I always like to have handy just for lightening stuff. Okay, so in true patchworking style, I am obviously high afternoon. Talk about say what you see. Hi, Helena. Yes, I've recovered. My voice is still a bit off, but it doesn't hurt anymore. So I don't mind when it doesn't hurt, and I don't feel ill. That's the big thing. I don't feel ill. So I could go ahead and stencil this whole thing as one piece, and in true patchworking style, then cut it into bits. But I think for ease, I'm going to get this looks like about 1 metre. I'm going to get it into sort of rough fat quarters. And then I can imagine I bought fat quarters. So, and we're going to get, yeah, they're really pretty colours. I mean, for your own version of this, pick colours that are in the room you'd like it for, or just pick colours you like. You know, sometimes you can end up getting a whole colour scheme from a room from something that you've made by the colours that you've picked up. So I've got a paint tray or two. I'm going to start with the Wedgwood because that's the main colour in there. Very pale blue. That's in the wallpaper and in the paint. The lime and this mockery colour are more in the furnishings. So, and about to become even more in the furnishings. So let's start with a nice gentle Wedgwood blue for the background. And I'm just going to grab a stencil. Let's see what comes to pour. Well, that does, because it just got delivered, didn't it? So what I'd like to do, I mean, I'm going to choose patterns that I like, obviously. Hi, darling. I'm going to choose patterns that I like, but really loads of different things would work. You know, I've got a flowery one there. I noticed there was a new, this could be quite interesting, a new one from the Stencil Studio, which is a geometric pattern. So I might have a go with that in a minute. What would be nice is to get a real nice selection going, so that when I come to make my throw, and when you do, I haven't just got 4 fat quarters, I'll have loads to play with. And that will also mean not only, I'm going to turn this over so that Milo's dirty nose is on the other side. That will also mean that I will have enough fabric there to make other things for the room, like cushions, or I'm going to have to think. I'm so unused to making soft furnishings. Think, oh, well, what else might I make? So let's get started. So I've got barrier cream on my hands just so I can get clean. And I'm just, let me tip the camera down a little bit so that you can see a bit more of the table. I've got a decorator's sponge roller, which are by far and away the best thing for doing this. And I was quite canny just before all the companies shut down, all the suppliers. I did manage to get quite a lot of orders in. So I've got plenty of rollers and handles. And these just last and last and last. And literally, I'm just putting them through the stencil. I'm not bothering too much about whether I do this really neatly, because it doesn't matter. If I do, it would be lovely. But usually I don't. And it doesn't matter. And I'm just going to, I could go with a regular repeat, but as I've already gone not straight, I'm just going to go in a bit randomly. And it looks so pretty. It just looks so, so pretty. And this stencil was based on a dahlia flower. And all I did, it was a photograph I'd taken. I literally traced over the flower to get the shape, and then resized and just simplified and separated it to get a stencil, which is really easy to do if you fancy having a go at making your own stencils. It's a really nice thing to do. But otherwise, there are loads of commercial stencils around. Luckily and fortunately, they're really popular now. When I first started, they were actually quite hard to get, but there's loads about now. So choose things you like, and you can make, and we can make, and I'm really quite excited because I am going to make beautiful things for my home. I mean, even just on its own like that, it's so pretty, isn't it? It's such a lovely, lovely pattern. It's actually got a bit of a 60s look to that, a bit of, oh, is it Morocco? I'm thinking of. Not the colour particularly. If I was in orange and brown, it would be. But anyway, it's very pretty. So I'm just going to make this fat quarter with this one. And I don't have to use just one stencil per fat quarter. I'll do this any way I like. Just depends what sort of mood I'm in and how I feel. So off we go. I'm making this one. And I'll probably make 2 or 3 of these just to give you some ideas. And then you can all bugger off and make them. Make your own set. And we can look again on Saturday. And then hopefully by next week, we'll all be set up to be over dyeing these. And then we can get on making this throw, which I think is going to be gorgeous. You don't have to make a throw. You can make anything you want. But I think a throw's quite nice. Because a throw can really be a lap quilt, a throw, a tablecloth, a chair back, a rug for the dog's bed. Whatever you like, can't it? Who have I got there? Making masks. You're making masks, Roz. Is that what you mean, you're making masks? You might well mean making masks. Okay, so that's just gorgeous, isn't it? That is just so pretty. Just a fairly simple flowery stencil all over. Now I could leave that one like that. And it would be fine, but I'm going to, you know me, I'm not going to. But I will start by trying to do some fairly gentle colour on colour ones. So I'm just going to, I think it's just because it's against that looks quite purpley. It isn't, no, it isn't lavender. I'm just checking I haven't picked up lavender, but I haven't. So I'm going to put this blue out. Yes, that's faded denim. I think that's the name we decided on, Jill. Oh no, not the squeaky roller. Oh, for heaven's sake, that's unlucky. I've got a huge pile here. Right, before we go any further. The squeaky roller happens because I don't clean the handles. Jill doesn't clean the handles very well. And they get really clogged up. And then the roller sticks on them. That does, I must admit, I can feel a fair bit of clogging on that. Let's try and put that. That feels better. That's better. Okay, so I'm going to put this darker, this deeper sort of more denim-y blue across here. And I'm going to use the same stencil, but I don't have to. I could change the stencil, but I think, no, let's stick with this stencil and see what it looks like in a second layer, because I do quite like sort of seeing where I can go with just one thing. Oh, I say, how pretty is that, where it's double printed? Absolutely gorgeous. So let's wallop on. To coin a phrase, let's wallop on. Yeah, so I reckon I've got sort of a largish fat quarter here. I'm pretty sure these pieces were cut into meters at one point for the shop. So, and I've torn it into 4. So I reckon I've got about a fat quarter going here. Let's find a little bit more paint. And you can make these materials as complicated or as simple as you like. They don't have to be complex, because remember, we're going to be making them up. We're going to be piecing them into different patterns. And I'm going to use a very simple pattern because I know my own level of patience, basically, with piecing. But if you absolutely love making, 6-point stars and things, go for it. Just absolutely go for it. This material is going to be fully washable when I'm finished. I'm using fabric paint. These are my own mixes, but they're based on Colour Opaque, which is a really nice, highly pigmented opaque paint. And that means when I add dye over the top of this, this paint's going to hold its colour. So I can enjoy, you know, if I wanted to add the lime green in the background of this to make this piece more vibrant for my palette, I can do, and all the blues will stay the same. So it's quite handy for this to have a really good opaque paint. If the fabric paints you have happen to be transparent, my best advice would be to think very carefully about the colours you're going to layer up, so that you don't get, excuse me, I will accuse you of shoddy work. Shoddy work includes not being here. What was I going to say? No idea. No idea, something about the paint. Oh yes, stay within one colour family. So all blues, all greens, or at the most, just go one section around the colour wheel, because with transparent paints, when you add dye, your colours will change. Your other option, of course, is not to add dye, and to just use these with white backgrounds, which would look very, very pretty. And actually, I'll show you as well how, if you need to, you can just use all paint. If you really don't want to use dye, we can still make a fully coloured piece with all paint. So we'll do that as well. Why do I never seem to have space on the table? What is it? What goes on in this room? Oh, flipping heck. Listen to that. Good for me. This is so that people's grandchildren, oh no, your grandchildren probably aren't with you, are they? They're probably not, unless they were there when we got shut in. Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. We're here to actually utilise this lockdown to make it something we'll look back on and think, well, I actually think it's quite extraordinary to be living through it, because not many people will ever live through something like this. So although I don't like it, part of me is trying to embrace the experience, because I think, well, this is going to be a once in a lifetime thing, I truly hope, and something that my parents never went through, yours won't have done. You know, it's not quite like the war, probably similar in some ways, but it isn't. So there's that aspect, and also we can look back and think, and look what I got done in that time. Isn't that beautiful, isn't it? So I'm actually going to leave that one just like that. I think that's a really pretty pattern piece of fabric ready for over dye. So let's get on to another one. And let's set this one up so that I can show you, if you haven't got any dye and you really don't want to use dyes, that you can still do this. What you need to do is you need to get some very, very wet paint. So let me get, actually I've got a paintbrush here. Right. I'm not going to do a huge piece because this is a bit slower and I'll wait for it to dry. But we'll do a half a piece just so that you can see, if you really don't want to use dye and all you have is fabric paint, you can do that. So I'm just going to use my tray. I'm getting out a big old fat brush, and I'm getting this paint that I've got in here, this Wedgwood colour. Very, very, very wet, and I'm just going to brush it on here. So I'm really taking it out almost to a wash, and the nice thing about these paints is, even one as pale as Wedgwood, it's got so much pigment in it, it is still going to show. I'm going to need a bit more paint on there, because there wasn't much left. Right. Loads of water, get it really, really wet. You don't have to worry about the pigment load, it's strong. It's going to stay there, and actually as you brush across, there's a bit there that's gone really pale with a bit of that denim colour. My brush is losing hairs all over here. They're not used to this. They're not used to this being done to them. It's not what they're designed for, but hey, and there's some of the denim. And put out a bit more paint. Now, be honest, I don't often do this because the dye is just a cheaper way to get the colour, and because the dye is transparent, I can get the lovely resist effects. But if I didn't have dye and I wanted all coloured fabric, I'd certainly go down this route. And when I did the programme for Hachanda, that one programme, this is how I made the background fabrics there, because I didn't want to take dye into their studio. Because I just knew I'd spill it and make a mess. Right, so if we ignore all the hairs that have come out of my brush on that, which are quite considerable, Which I can probably just get a bit of paint out of there. And you could just roller it like that, but you'll get quite a crispy piece of fabric. The end's fallen out of my brush. It really didn't like this, did it? Poor do. Just because it's being abused. Okay, so ignoring, as I say, I'm just going to get that end piece there. We'll ignore all the hairs on that because they'll come off. That gives me a nice pale coloured piece of fabric, which when it's dry, I can stencil. I'm going to stick that on the radiator to see if I can get it dry in the next half hour so we can stencil on it. I think I probably can. It may have some funny patterns on it for doing this, but that's okay. It'll just be lines. It'll get lines through it where it's drying. Right, okay. Let's do some more. That's lovely and soaking wet now, isn't it? Let's just take that sheet off and get that down to something a bit drier. So, another piece of fabric. See, I haven't mentioned at all, not at all. I haven't said a word about them. Not a thing. I think I've been very, very circumspect. Right, so let's start again with the Wedgwood. So remember, I'm making a palette of materials here. So I want to keep my colours. I want to make myself colours that will all go together. Let's do, what do I fancy? I've got more of those dahlias. I could do those. Have I got any? Oh, that's a nice one. Look, there's two different sizes. Let's do that one. And then I want to do, I've just seen Eastern Willow, which is always a favourite. Right, let's use this. Nice thing about doing something like this as well is it gets me quite excited. Well, no, not quite. It gets me very excited because I think, oh God, this is going to look amazing. And I do think, oh yeah, right. I'm actually do a regular one here, shall we? They're sort of suggesting that, aren't they? What a walloper that is. What a walloping pattern that is. Oh, excuse me. I hope I'm not sniffing a lot. I probably am. I have waited until I wasn't too sniffy and streaming because I thought it'd be massively off-putting. That's not very pleasant to listen to. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, again, you could just have just that and over dye. I'll probably put at least 2 patterns on each just because I'm that sort of person. So let's do this right. Let's do this in a totally regular pattern repeat. Just straight lines. Beautiful. And it's interesting because I would probably normally have started with Robin Eggs Blue. I nearly always do start with Robin Eggs Blue, but because I know where this is going, it's influencing my colour choices, which is not something that usually happens to me. But of course, if you're doing things for rooms in your house, it is going to be in a consideration, isn't it? So, and on this one, I'm going to put some, either mocha or lime. I haven't decided yet. Through as my next colour. And always go off the edges. I can see here I've left just a bit of an edge. That'll be really annoying when I'm cutting this fabric up to make my my throw, because I've got a whole strip of fabric here that I haven't stenciled, which won't be, if I cut here, there's not going to be anything on here. What there should be there is the repeat. It's only just the edge of it, but it should be there. So put it on and you will find your fabric looks an awful lot better. Miles better, in fact. That is so nice. Yum, yum, yum. So choose colours that go with wherever you'd like this to go. Or, I think there's quite a few people have told me recently they've got new arrivals in the family, new babies. This would be perfectly suitable for making a baby comforter, a cot quilt. Totally washable, so long as you fix it all properly. And that would be something you could be doing for these babies at a time when I know it's really hard because you can't actually see them. But again, you know, how lucky are we with the internet? Because we can Skype or house party or whatever else there is and actually see and talk to people. It's we are very fortunate, really. Right, what's the next colour I'm going to put in there? I think I'm going to use the smaller line of these, see how that looks. I do like mixing up sizes. Yeah, I think for some people, they're just not going to want to use dye. Some people may have allergies to dye. It is a slight bit more complicated. So it is perfectly possible to do it with painting the backgrounds and then stenciling over them. And because it's fabric paint, it will still all be washable. I would keep your background relatively, well, actually you don't have to because it's opaque paint. I could have done the background black and stenciled over in white. It would work just as well. Right, I think I'm going to do those in, I'm going to get some lime going, I think. Let's have some lime. Because this is a colour, there's just a couple of chairs in the sitting room, and to be honest, the only reason they're lime is because that's what they were. And they've never been recovered. That's that roller handle again. It needs to stop coming up and getting rollers put on it because it's getting on my nerves now. Let's try slightly. Oh, good. That's Milo. Hopefully Stephen in a minute will follow him downstairs and sort out whatever that is. Yep, there you go. 20 seconds later. Oh, somebody at the door. Oh, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that gorgeous? What a lovely combination of colours. See, that's interesting because, again, I wouldn't have picked up these two colours together particularly, I don't think. But I think they look gorgeous. And that will actually act to bring the limey green in the sitting room in as if I'd planned it, rather than it just being, it's what I'd got. Or I might end up covering the chairs in this. That would be pretty nice, wouldn't it? Anna, I'll need to answer that after I've stopped streaming because I'll be able to translate it. I can't at the moment, but I will, I promise, I will. I will find translate and translate that. Anything interesting?
I don't know.
Oh.
Amazon box.
Oh. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I love that. Isn't that so pretty? Even with just one strip down it, but because I'm going to chop it up, let's carry on and put the next strips down. I think this dahlia head was on its side when I traced it. And I think it looks lovely, but it also makes it look a bit like water lily. And I think the way I've positioned it on this stencil also makes it look a bit like water lily. I'm going off camera. Oh, dear, 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 dear. Right, let's move across, move across. And again, it's looking lovely. I really like this. Really, really like that. Oops, just painted the mug a little bit, but there you go. It's not right when I'm not on full throttle. I just think the world is all wrong, and it really annoyed me because I thought, what a time to go all Dorothy. Just when the world needs bounce, my bounce got up and bounced off. But yes, back on full throttle, feeling cheery. I'm pretty excited about making something nice for my home. So that is looking so pretty. Don't you think that looks a bit like a Liberty cloth? I think it does. I think it's got a very Liberty-esque look to it. A bit more green. Right, so let's do down these sides. How am I doing? How am I doing? Not too bad, not too bad. How I ever did 15-minute videos, I just don't know. I just can't imagine how I did them. Must have been very unnatural, that's all I can think. Very peculiar. Excuse me. That is so pretty. I am so pretty. No. Oh, God, I'm so modest. I am so pretty. Thought I'd just come in here and tell you I am so pretty. No, that is so pretty. That is so pretty is what I meant. That is so pretty. And I do think it has a very Liberty fabric look to it. Eat your hearts out. Liberty. We're here. And I already know that what I make out of this is going to be beautiful. And so personal. So totally personal. Might even enter it in a quilt show, you know, in a normal category like contemporary or something. That'd be exciting, wouldn't it? I don't think I'm getting this in line, but I think it should have been a bit more down there. But anyway, never mind. We don't care. It's a pattern and it looks nice. Right. Just thought what I think I might do on it. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I should. It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, I could just leave that like that because that is very gorgeous. And that would give me 2 pieces, wouldn't it? Yes, come on, let's do that. So let's crack on and get some bits made. So that's given me 2 really nice fat quarters that go together. They've both got that Wedgwood blue in the back. One's got a deeper blue, the denim blue. One's got lime. Let's get another piece of fabric. I've no idea why it's on the floor. Can't think who's done that. This one's got a bit of Nilo's snotty on, so we'll put some mocha on this one to cover his snotties up. Right, let's go in with, I mean, I could keep going with the dahlias. It's quite an obvious thing to do, but I wouldn't mind, ooh. It's one for you, Alison. I think that's the one, let's get it the right way round. Judy got for you, isn't it? With Rose's name all over it. I mean, actually, let's do a rosy one. That would be really nice. Rose hips. Let's do a couple of rose hip ones because it's still flowery, isn't it? It's still flowery. Oh, and I love that. That makes a really pretty one. And there's the bigger rose name. That's more of those. Bigger rose name. I've got my trellis there. Actually, that's not, well, that will do. That's not the trellis I've got, actually, but that'll do for now. And are there any more rosy ones? Did I pick? No, I missed that out, you see. There should be some big roses. How many big roses gone? Look there. Unlikely. No, where's my big roses? Well, let's put those down there anyway. Didn't see any big roses come out of there. I know I've got big roses. I've only got one small rose there. Well, okay, we'll use one small rose. I know we used the big rose last time because I remember showing you how you could use the big rose to make patterns. Didn't I? I did, didn't I? I know I did. Oh, well, I'll have to find it later. It's gone AWOL. Never mind. I shall live without it. I mean, I'll keep obviously turning stuff over and thinking, well, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And where's my rose hips? You know, there's another thing. There's another thing that I'd dearly like to know. Right, okay, I'll use this triple rose. And we'll start with, said I'd start with mocha, didn't I? But I've got green here. So I'm going to start with green, going to lighten it up ever so slightly. Yes, I know you will be, Alison. Well, the answer is make one of these throws for her then. You can tell her that's what you're doing during this time. You can show her pictures, show her mum. I think this would be a really nice thing to do. I mean, I'm doing it for, because I don't have any grandchildren, doing it for myself. But it would be a lovely thing to do for somebody else during this time. To have things, because what's the one thing you've got is some time on your hands. So I'm going to use this rose. This is the single pattern. I've splobbed that. I'm not worrying about that. I'm just going to use it as a pattern, forgetting a bit that it could be a feature on a cushion or something, which is why I'd like to find the others, because I think it'd be nice to make some pieces. Maybe I'll do that on Saturday when I've found them, that could make cushion centres and things as well. You know, I'm now into the whole room. Never a girl to do it small. Do it big, I say, do it big. So I'm just using this like any other pattern and repeat printing it. My cloth's crinkly because it's been in the soda. Don't iron it when it's like this because it may scorch. Now I am going to have to heat fix my paints because I want this fully washable, but I'm going to do that very carefully. I will show you that so that I don't scorch my fabric. That's gorgeous, absolutely loving it. Right, let's do another line. Let's put them in between if I can. So I'm just offsetting slightly. So this is like a half drop repeat that I'm putting here, which is always one of, if I'm going to do pattern making, it's one of my favourite patterns. I think it looks really nice. You know, and those of you that are really accomplished piecers and quilters could make whole bed quilts and things like this. I mean, I would love to. I just doubt it's ever going to happen. I'm just never going to have the time. But if you are, it would be spectacular, just so special, all with your own homemade fabrics. It would be absolutely amazing. And you've got the time now. You know, all this, oh, I'd love to, but I haven't got time. Well, you have actually. All of a sudden, you might not have wanted it, but you've just been gifted it. Lots of time. Oh, this is going to look so pretty. I think I'm going on into curtains. Curtains. Lockdown won't be long enough for everything I could do with these. Right, so now we're back to this one, aren't we? So we start here. This is a nice colour. This is the lime with just a little bit of pistachio in, lightening it up, which is really, oh, it's going to look so pretty in the room, is this. It's just going to kick off against those lovely blues and actually liven it up because it's all a bit too sophisticated for me at the moment. Yes, I'm hoping to, on Saturdays, do a sort of follow-up. The main thing will be, I knew I'd be getting it. I knew I'd be getting it. I'm having 10 extra minutes because we had to start with explanations today. I knew I'd get into trouble. Yes, I thought rather than doing great long streams, because I will exhaust myself because I'm doing long streams for the online students already. So I thought what I'll do is we'll do a couple of shorter ones during the week, sort of, you know, 45 minutes an hour, setting you off with something, and then we can check back and see how you're getting on. And hopefully that way we can just keep going, making things, you know. And at the moment, okay, I'm making, whoops, that was a beautiful, spectacularly bad stenciled rose. At the moment, I'm doing something quite big, a throw, but I won't always, you know, some days it might be just that, you know, I see a pretty leaf outside, so we'll jelly print it. Or, you know, we might decide to make, I don't know, cards, wrapping paper, whatever. Really, it's just, you know, come along in here and share with me what I'm doing. And it's quite a nice chance for me, actually, to do something other than just sort of serious artwork, if you like, or sensible artwork. This is because I have missed making furnishings and more crafty stuff because I just don't get the time. So this is rather nice for me to make myself make this time. And I just thought, well, I hope it will. I hope it will help people who are shut in, because I am aware, you know, I can remember when we used to live up in the North Dales, how hard I used to find these summer holidays because I wasn't working. I was renovating the house, but during the term times, I used to go off and do classes at the local college, embroidery, dressmaking, etc., etc. And I used to find it incredibly hard the sort of 2 or 3 months in the summer when there was nothing, because I didn't see anybody, because we lived a mile from the nearest house. So I'm kind of aware how hard that is. Right, next colour on here. We said we'd do mocha, and I think we will. So let's chuck that up there, get a new tray. Let's get some mocha roses on here. Or do I do blue roses on here? Let's do mocha. Let's do mocha. Let's do a mocha. Oh, gorgeous colour. I am going to mix some more. I know it's out at the moment, but I have got, I had a delivery of paint last week, thank goodness. Bloody, it's the squeaky roller again. It's determined to get me. That's it. Right, so I'm going to use the same. Now, I could go in with a different pattern. Couldn't I? I could do rose hips. Should I do that? Should I do rose hips? Oh, now, you see, I don't know what to do now. I was thinking, oh, I'll just go in my usual with the same pattern. Let's do the rose hips in between. That's a nice idea. That just looks as though it would fit quite nicely in there. So let's put that in between. Slightly different scale to that rose, but that's okay. And so let's turn that. And this is just going to be yet another material for my palette. All going to be slightly different. So all out of these 4 colours. So I've got 2 blues, a mocha and a green. So they're all going to be made in those colours. And then that palette of materials will all work together for anything I want to make out of them, which in this case is going to be a 16 patch throw, each one a foot by a foot. I'm going to make each patch separately so that I can quilt it separately, which is much easier. And then so I can quilt it and then show you how to join them to make a bigger quilt. I mean, I do have a bigger quilting machine now, but I used to have, and I used to find it quite exhausting trying to get huge quilts onto a small machine. So I just stopped bothering trying to do it. And found a way of making it work without having to do that. I'm just trying to work out where this needs to be. There, yes, okay. That's it. Just put this top in, which is, well, it's sort of, I think I got that wrong. No, it shouldn't be above that. It should be, oh, I don't know. I don't know. Me and repeats, it's always a bit hit and miss, and always rather traumatic as well. Right, okay, that's okay. That's okay, it's not too bad. Ah, I've done 2, the same there. Idiot. What a fool I am. Never mind. And have I put these on the same line? Oh, I don't know. Let's just put them in because I don't honestly know what I've done, is the truth. I don't really know. That's very pretty. Very, very, very pretty. Yep. Push it up. And well, we will end up being the ones that are thinking, oh, look, no, don't stop lockdown. We're busy. We're busy. We haven't got time for going out socialising. And what a great thing that would be. And in many ways, this does hark back to certainly the heritage for me of the North Country, in Durham and in Yorkshire, where women did, I mean, okay, they met in small groups, but a lot of their time, an awful lot of their time, was on their own. They didn't have cars, weren't mobile, and most of their time was spent at home making their homes beautiful. I mean, I think that's why patchwork ended up like it did. They didn't just rattle together any old thing. They used what they had, feed sacks, and chopped them up and made something beautiful out of them. That's really pretty, isn't it? Now, do I put one more layer? I think I do. I think I do. Don't think I'd want to be accused of undercooking it. Now, what I might put on is either trellis or I think this nice swirl might look nice. And I think the swirl could look good. Let's come in with one of the blues. I could do the swirl in the brown. No, I don't want to. I'm going to do the swirl in, I might do it in a mixture of the denim and the Wedgwood blue. So I get a kind of mid-blue. Mid-blue, that's what I'm thinking, mid-blue. Okay, that's a nice colour. And I think this will just join and fill in some of these areas in between. That's what I'm hoping. I like this Swirl Stencil. This is one of the Stencil studios. They make very good stencils. They're nice and strong. They're made out of this, the same mylar. I buy my mylar from them to make the stencils. So it's nice, strong mylar. They leave you a reasonable amount of space. Not as much as me, I have to say, but they do leave you a reasonable amount of space to get at things. And they're nice stencils, and I love this one. I do want to design my own swirly one at some point, but until that day, This is lovely. And there's a bigger version too somewhere. There's an A4, I just can't find it at the moment. But it's a good one. These light stencils like this and trellis are great ones for just adding a little bit of extra pattern into something without overcooking it. It's just putting some, it's just putting some nice extra in there. Actually, I like a bit of the darker blue in there as well, you know, I think. So I may go in with that's lovely. I may go in with a bit of trellis. I don't know whether to leave that there. Probably should. Very pretty, isn't it? Let's look at it against the others. See, it just gives a completely different look and pattern, doesn't it? But gorgeous together. Absolutely gorgeous together. I'm just loving them. Loving them. Go on, I'm going to put a bit of the darker blue in as a trellis. Just because I can and I want to. So, where's the trellis? Just some small bits, not loads, just some small areas like that. So I like that straight away. Just little bits. I just think trellis is another of these very useful, gentle patterns. You can look into gaps and put little bits of it, and it just tends to look good. It just has a habit of looking good. So I'm just using, you don't have to use the whole of stencils, you can use small areas of them to put in what you like. And to be honest, if I wish I could find the bigger roses, I will do, I'm going to find them, because I think they'd be really nice done like this. That's a double trellis because I actually, interestingly, moved the stencil while I was using it. Nothing wrong with that. Really pleased with that one. Right, we're going to do one more, then I'll get told off if I carry on. So let's do one more. What should we do? We need to find a piece of fabric. Oh, that's right, I ripped it off, didn't I? Let's get this badge up. Oh yes, a nice line of the Milo's nose down the edge there. Let's do that. I said I'd do that really geometric one, didn't I? That'd be interesting. Let's try that. Comes in an A4 and an A5. Let's start with the A4. That'll get some fairly fast coverage. Is that it? That's it. Oh, and there's something falling on the floor. There you go. Right. So this one, I can't remember, I think it's called Clover Pattern. Completely different to the sort of floral and nature inspired ones I've been using. So let's go with this. This is one you're never going to get designed by me because it's just too regular, it's too even. It's been done by somebody that can do regular even things. But it's rather nice now. I'm just going to see how it looks. Oh, nice. Yeah, I like that. Now, with that, I can go regularly. I can, I don't know how it's meant to repeat actually. So I'll stop worrying about it. That's a good idea. Best plan, stop worrying about it. I can't see. I'm going to stop worrying about it and just wallop it in. That's a much better idea. It's not good for me to be worrying about things like that. It doesn't do me any good. Oh, that's nice, look. So if we just cover that edge bit and go over there and get a bit more of that. You don't have to work regularly just because you've got a regular pattern like this. You can do this randomly and move it around, and I would imagine fairly soon it'll become quite random with me because I'm going to get I'm just going to get tired of doing it evenly. Plus my fabric's very wrinkly, so it's quite hard to actually do it evenly. And I could use this pattern for my throw, couldn't I? You know, this is a patchwork pattern that could be pieced. I've no doubt there is one called Cloverleaf or something, and this might well be based on it. But this is certainly, I could take each of these squares and use that as a pattern. I'm not going to. It would mean curved piecing, which isn't something that I want to get involved in at this stage of my life. But for those of you that really enjoy the challenge of a good piece, you could use something like this, make your materials out of it, and then use the pattern. That could be quite exciting. Me, it's going to be a fairly simple pattern, my throat. Strippy, probably strippy. Strippy or blocky. Most things I do in life is strippy or blocky. I'm good at defaulting to that. Right, okay, so let's get off the edges with this one. And there, whoops. There. And I think this is going to make a nice, slightly different type of pattern for me in these, because most of mine will be quite organic and florally. So to have one like this is going to be nice. It'll just put a bit of something interesting in there when I'm making up my squares. A bit of a change of rhythm, which I think will be nice. Rhythm's very important and keeps it interesting, I think. Nice change of rhythm. That's what I'm saying anyway. Oh, hang on, there's a roller just trying to just jab in there. Let's get one in the corner there. And over here. And down this edge, let's turn it because it's easier for me to do it to the right than the left. Get off. Looks lovely, doesn't it? Really pretty piece of material. These Stencil Studio stencils, if you look at how they're advertised on the packets, they're actually designed really for doing walls. That's how they show them used. So you could use them for that as well. I could stencil the room in these and then stencil the furnishings in these, and that would be quite exciting, really. Just down here, and then I just need to decide what second colour I'm going to put on here. And also what pattern. Am I going to use the same pattern again? I mean, I've got it in the A5 size, so I could do and just change the size. That could be quite interesting. Or I could do something very organic over the top of here. Oh, and I'm seeing the secondary pattern this makes now, which is lovely. This is one of the nice things about patchworking. When I lift this up, you've probably already seen it actually, because I'm looking at the individuals as I'm stenciling them. But there's a secondary circular pattern in there here, going round, which is really rather lovely, isn't it? So what do I do now? I've got a smaller version of that. Or I could put a completely different stencil over it. I can imagine that swirly one would look good. I think I might just see what happens with the smaller version of it, because that sounds quite exciting. If I can, there it is. Excuse me. And I'm going to do this in, I think we need a bit more of that mocha colour. So I'm going to do it in the mocha. I'm drawn towards doing it in the lime, but I think I would like another mocha piece, just so I've got a few more. So a bit of mocha. I'm going to add to that mocha a little bit of white, just to lighten it a bit. It's a lovely colour. I do really like it. Okay. So I don't know how this will work. This is going to give, it's the same pattern. How am I going to set it? Oh, I have no idea. I'm going to set it in the middle of that and see what happens. I don't know how I'm going to set it. That's the answer, girls. I really don't know. Oh, nice. Now, that's gorgeous. Gorgeous. Now, I can run over the whole thing like that, which would be really exciting. It's probably what I'm going to do. Or I could do just, why don't we try just doing the middles like that? See what that looks like. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Let's just do the middles. Let's leave some, oh gosh, yes, I'm loving that. Wow, that's beautiful. I want this as my floor. Oh, well done, Hilary, straight off the edge of the stencil. That is why I give you a little I would give you a bit more Mylar than that on the edge, but it doesn't matter. It isn't going to matter. We're not going to notice. By the time I've finished, we're not going to notice. Right, so this is going just in the middle there. I'll go a bit more carefully so I don't race off the edge. And it would be in the middle here, wouldn't it? Which would be about there. Yes, there. Really like that. And then let's do the same here. So in the middles. Might turn it so it's a different way that time. Lovely, this looks so nice. Even with my splat, on my mind now is how I'm going to deal with the splat, because I want to put something over it. It wouldn't notice as much if this wasn't such a regular pattern, but it is. So I'm going to put something over that splat to disguise it. But first of all, I'm going to do as I always do, and that is finish the edges properly. One down here, so that sits about like that. And the same over on this side. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, it just is gorgeous, isn't it? That is such a nice double pattern. I'm loving it. Loving it, I am. Right, okay, so we need one up here. Which is like that, out there. And then one here. And there. And one here. And one here. Now, what can I put in those gaps now, just to trellis or birds or swirls. That's gorgeous. I'm loving that. I think that is really, really, really beautiful. And if I hadn't put this splat here, I'd probably leave it like that actually. I still could. But I think I could utilise this actually quite nicely to just put a bit of distraction in here so that you don't notice that odd one. Yeah, beautiful. So I'm going to put this in the gaps. Oh God, that looks nice. And see now, serendipity, I'm really glad I made the splat because it's made me do this, which I wouldn't have bothered with otherwise. And I think it looks super. Let's use the super word, shall we? I do like a bit of super. It looks absolutely super. It really does. This would be a very nice stencil on a wall. I stenciled my house to death in the, when would it be? Late 80s, early 90s, just after I finished college. Absolutely every surface, walls, ceilings, furniture, everything. It was glorious, absolutely glorious. Well, I thought so anyway. And that was all that mattered. As far as I'm concerned. That's all that matters. Isn't that lovely up there with that extra swirling? That just looks fabulous. Really, really like that. So let's finish it off down here. That's a lovely piece of fabric. Really like this one. So, just finish down here. Let's get off over all of those edges. Off here. In there, I've done another splat. I've done quite a few splats now, I look at it, but I'm not bothered. Call me a splatter. not a splatter sun. I'm only splatting splatters till the splatter cutter. No, till the splatter. Anyway, we'll end that little oh, hang on, there's a piece there without a whirling. Can't be having that. That's so pretty. So we've got that one. I mean, pretty quickly, in just over an hour, because I was talking for the first 15 minutes. So we've got 1, 2, 3. And to be honest with you, there's enough here to make a throw. I'll probably do a couple more, just because it's me and I like plenty of variety. But that's a really nice collection of materials there. I've got all the colours that I wanted in there. I've got blue in every one, because that is the main colour in my room. But then I've added in the mocha and I've added in the lime. One in all blues. They're going to be over dyed as well. We'll do that in another stream. So I think now what would be a good idea is, it doesn't look like mine, does it? No, you're right, Janice, it doesn't. It's because it's so regular, but I like it, and I like the pattern kickoff against these. I think it looks really interesting. So I would suggest you grab yourself some fabric. If you're wanting to use dye, you can add soda. Pre-soak it in soda so that the soda's in the fabric for when we're dyeing later. And then just grab some stencils and some fabric paints and have some fun making yourself some nice materials. A fat quarter is quite a nice size to work in. If you've got a smaller work area, do that again, because we're going to cut all these up. You know, our maximum size is going to be a 12-inch square, so you could take a piece that size and decorate it. And then out of this metre of fabric, I could have had 8 different fat eighths to work with, and that would give me probably enough to make my throw, maybe a little bit more if I want a 4-foot square. Although I can use every little strip here. So I think if you go off and do that, start doing that, and then on Saturday we'll see where we've got to with that. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just see if that fabric's dry. It'll only take 5 minutes, and nobody's chasing me yet. Can't resist. Oh, it's got to be it. Oh, I'll just show you. This is a good way of patterning fabric as well. This is what happens when you dry fabric on a hot radiator that's got paint on. You get that interesting line across it. So this is the piece that I've put the fabric paint in for if you didn't want to actually use dye. It's got, unfortunately, hairs all over it, but we can get those off. And then we can pattern this without the need for dye. I prefer it done the other way, but this will still work very nicely. Let's put some, let's make this a very gentle one. Let's put some of the pale blue over. That was the colour we were using, but we used it very washed back. So this will give a very gentle patterning, just to make some interest in this, because it is, and it really is subtle, that, but I'm hoping it'll make it a bit more of an interesting background now. So this piece was done with just very watered down paint in the background, and I'm now just adding a very gentle stencil over it, and then I'm going to kick colour a bit. Let's have some of the, oh, I can hear movement on the stairs. I'm ready with my excuses. Right, so let's do that again. Slightly darker this time. Won't be that much darker because I have the stencil a bit there. Well, that's pretty, isn't it? Very pretty. So the other ones I've done, if you're new to how I work, I'm going to add dye to them. Probably on Saturday we can have the dye. And I can show you doing that. But if you don't want to use dye, if you prefer to work all with fabric paint, your fabric will be a little stiffer just because you've got fabric paint in the background. But when I ironed and rinse this, it will be fine. It will be absolutely fine. And by the time it's been washed a few times and softened up in this house, it'll be gorgeous. So let's do that, and then let's add that gorgeous lime in on this one, shall we? So I could keep it like that as a lovely blue on blue. And that would look really, really, really pretty as a piece of fabric, as part of my throw. I mean, I'll use it as part of my throw, but you know me, I can't resist just putting a bit of something else on there. So let's just get a bit of this again. I'm going to add the pistachio into the lime, which is going to make, well, that is actually quite bright. I might add a bit more lime into the lime, knock that back a tiny bit, so it's not quite so perky. And let's just block that stencil. I could put if I put, where's the little Rosa? That's rather nice. Let's put this on. I think this might look nice. Whoops. Don't rip your stencils like that. That was just stupid of me. Right, so we're going to put lime Rosa over this. See how that looks. Nice, very gentle. And this could be an answer as well if your paints aren't fully opaque. Although this colour that I'm using now, this pale green, is showing because there's opaqueness in it. So my advice would always be to get opaque fabric paint, because you can easily make it into a transparent if you want to. But I do realise at the moment that you're not necessarily going to be able to get the things you want anyway. So long as you've got a light background, even with a transparent paint, you could do this. And certainly with a white background, you can do any of them you want. I love that, and I'm going to do that as well in mocha, or because that's so gentle, so very gentle on there, it almost barely shows. So do I go over that again in the darker blue or the lighter blue or mocha? Darker blue, I think. Darker blue. That's my decision, and I'm going to stick with it. So I'm just going to go into the gaps and add a bit more of this in here. Yeah, I like that. That looks nice. I've sent my colour rather grey there because I've used the stencil with the lime on, and then this faded denim colour, which is already quite grey, and I've actually really quite greyed that off, which wasn't what I intended to do. So I may bring that all back bright again by using that really useful swirl and my palest blue, in fact sky blue. Let's make this sky blue, which is a bit brighter. It will scarcely show this, but I think it will just kick the brightness back up on this. I didn't want to do what I did there. Let's turn that way. Hopefully that will be quite light and bright, and it is. That's it. That's lifted it back up again. I'm never quite sure how much of the kind of subtleties you can see on the camera, but that has actually pulled some lightness back into that really nicely. That light blue. And I like that pattern as well. Tempted to do that in the green now as well. Go on, in for a penny, in for a pound, hey? Why not? Let's try and just block the blue off a bit, although it's a very light blue. It shouldn't do much harm there. Right, here we go. Oh yeah, like that a lot. Very much like that. Yes. Oh, lovely. Oh, yes. Don't forget to keep encouraging yourself, especially when you're at home alone. Learn to talk to you. I don't know, maybe that's why I do talk to myself so much. Learn to talk to yourself. It's always good. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm loving that. That is delish. That is absolutely delish. Totally gorgeous. Right. Oh, I'm happy with that. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. Yum. Very happy with that piece. So that piece is basically finished. It just needs iron fixing, does that now. So I've got my pieces there. Most of them are going to need over dyeing. I'll probably make a couple more before the weekend, but then on Saturday we'll pop in and do an hour showing you how to over dye those, and then next week we can start actually making a hanging. You're welcome, Andy. So I'm not quite sure what time on Saturday. I'm streaming on Friday, and So I'll probably lie in on Saturday to recover a bit. So it may well be sort of lunchtime, straight after lunch on Saturday. So get yourself sort of, don't just watch these and then bugger off and do nothing. Get yourself, sometimes some of the MIPs have said, how do you get motivated? And that is really hard, actually. It is very hard to get motivated from nothing. I have found over the years that it's pointless sitting waiting for motivation to hit me, because it doesn't happen like that. What I have to do is turn up and get on with it, and when I turn up and get on with it, the motivation follows. So it's not that I feel inspired so I work, it's I work and I become inspired. So that would be my best advice. Just get the stuff out, think of something you'd like to make, and make some nice fabrics, and then during this period of time when we've got this very unusual, strange situation, we can absorb the strangeness and make something very useful out of it. So I will post up on the page about what time on Saturday, but I would guess about the same time as today, probably about 2 o'clock. And take care of yourselves. Everybody stay safe. Stay in, stay safe, stay away from others, stick with it. It won't be forever. We'll all get through this. We'll all look back on this and enjoy a time for some kind of peacefulness and time to do the things that you don't have to normally do. Will do, Jill, will do. Trays in sync, I promise, I promise. God, I can't wait till Jill comes back. I'm not suffering for having to mix all my own paint, clean all my own mess. It's horrendous. So, oh, lurking. Oh, I do love a lurker. I do love a lurker, Anne. Good. Find your stencils, Anne. Get them out. Get making. Let's make some beautiful things. In fact, we could have a gallery at the end of lockdown. I could just set up a gallery on Facebook where we could all just put all the stuff we've been making during lockdown, our lockdown treasures. Oh, you're welcome, everybody, and I'll see you on Saturday. Everybody take care of yourself and everybody stay safe. Bye now. Bye.